as per kind of usual, we've got the lovely Clare Vale, who is the Managing Director of Science Solutions. We've got Rachel Shinn, who's the Wellbeing Lead at the Gym Group, and we've got Alice Hendy, who is the founder of Ripple. So 3 incredible people talking about 3 pretty different topics. But before we do that, there's just a tiny couple of bits that we kind of need to go through. So with includability, we're ever evolving. We're always trying to understand how we can have the most amount of impact. So we launched includability for the education setting a little while ago, and we're about to launch on the 26th of July, includability for the sports setting. Because what we've realized, there was a report this morning, I think, that 10 out of the 92 professional football clubs are only there just about hitting their D&I targets. That means there's a good 82 that are some way off being anywhere close to reaching their D&I targets. So what we've tried to do is bring together incredible people across the sporting world who are experts in D&I. We've got Sarah Matthews, who's she's on the board of Netball Scotland. She's the ex-HRD of Chelsea. She helped write the Premier League ED&I standards. We've got Jamie Hooper, who runs Inclusive Cultures, who does an awful lot around governance and policies within sports. And he also runs the Include Summit, which is the largest D&I festival for sports. And we've got, who else? We've got Steph Harries, who is the Managing Director of Women in Sports. And then we've got a few other incredible guests coming along and talking. So that's happening on the 26th of July. Dave will put the link into the chat feed for you. We also do something you would probably have seen, Includability Connections. This is about celebrating everything that we do and the people that we introduce. So whether that's organizations to organizations, whether that is ambassadors to organizations, or consultancies and businesses to support and deliver workshops, training. But we are the facilitator of incredible introductions, and our Includability Connections celebrates that. So if you've had the pleasure of kind of being introduced to anyone and it's made a positive impact, please let us know, because Chris Taylor's on the call, James is on the call. They will hear from you. They will write your story, and we want to put it out, because the sharing of stories is how we can really, really make the most amount of impact, and it can provide a degree of inspiration and empowerment for actual change to happen. We're launching Includability Unlocked, which is for any companies that are includability committed employers. This is your members guide to making sure you get the most out of includability. So top tips, best practice, downloadable guides, and access to everything you could need. And then Includability Shorts is exactly that. They're short, bite-sized videos of top tips, best practice, covering the world of D&I, mental health, well-being, leadership and governance, talent management, and sustainability. So do keep an eye out for them. And then last but not least, Jack at Work. Some of you would have seen kind of jack.org, the mental health platform. That's being launched in its at work guise on the 4th of July. So we'll kind of talk about that a bit later on as well, and we'll share a video with you as well. But I think that's enough talking from me for the time being. And now we can get on to our first guest. So Claire, the virtual floor is yours.
Just share my screen, 2 seconds. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, good. Okay. So I'm Claire, MD of Science Solutions, standing in for Adam today, who was going to do this presentation for you. So hopefully you're not disappointed. So we don't do signs, we do sign language. So a common misconception. So just moving on to what we do. So we are basically a one-stop shop to help you, guide you, and provide services for you to include deaf people in your workforce as your customer, as your client, as your supplier. So we work across the UK, providing in-person interpreters to help a deaf and a hearing person communicate, basically. So we have helped companies like Amazon go from employing 8 deaf people to over 100 deaf people, and educating them around making the work accessible to them, training accessible to them, and basically tapping into a previously untapped pool of talent to fill their vacancies. So we support you to employ deaf people. We provide interpreters in any scenario you can think of. So whether that is in a doctor's surgery, whether that's in a courtroom, whether that's in a police station, whether that's a job interview, absolutely anything. So yeah, and then we also provide deaf awareness training as well. So and BSL training. So once you take on an employee, or if you have a deaf customer, you might want to make sure that your staff are deaf aware to make your employee feel more comfortable, or so that your customer has a better interaction with you. So we provide online or in-person or group online training with native BSL users who deliver that deaf awareness training. So it's very culturally appropriate to be delivered by a deaf person rather than a hearing person or an interpreter. So our main aim at Sign Solutions is to break down any barriers that would be encountered by a deaf person. So whatever path they go through in life, that we try and make the companies and the interactions they have accessible and equal to that of a hearing person. So we also have a on-demand service. This is called Interpreters Live. So there are not enough interpreters in the UK to service every interaction that a deaf person might have, especially in person. So we launched this service back in 2014. And it enables a deaf person to access a BSL interpreter in person via an iPad, computer, phone, via our app, or they can use it over the phone. So we have lots of organisations that have Interpreters Live, just a link on their Contact Us page. And once they click that link, the deaf person can come through to an interpreter, who then relays a phone call to your customer service department, your reception, your internal HR department, whatever it is, so that they can communicate in BSL, which is their first or preferred language. So British Sign Language is used mostly by 151,000 people in the UK. And they don't have normally a high level of English. Reading age is normally around sort of 8 to 13. So they would prefer to communicate with you not in written format, but in British Sign Language. So we enable that sort of two-way conversation via interpreters. So I mentioned before, we do deaf awareness training and BSL courses. So you can have groups of people doing BSL, and we provide a tutor, and it's structured around you and bespoke to you and your employees or customers. And then we also have an e-learning module, so you can do it self-paced on your own, and obviously stop and save your progress. So I mentioned what we did with Amazon. So Amazon was kind of one of the first clients that we started doing this work with. So we have a full guide that we provide to employers that will guide them through all the different things you need to think about when it comes to making sure that you are attracting, recruiting and retaining deaf employees. So how to make your job adverts accessible, providing interpreters for the interview process. And with that, you just ask what kind of communication support would you like, because not everybody that's deaf uses BSL. They may have gone deaf later in life and use a palantypist or a speech-to-text reporter, because English might be their first language. So we provide all types of communication support, and we can help you understand what support that you need. Somebody might be deaf and blind, so we do tactile signing on their hands. So there's all different types, but we are experts in this. We've been around 25 years. So if you need any advice or support now or in the future, we're an Includability member and happy to help. We can also educate you on making sure your training and inductions are accessible to deaf people, and also build deaf awareness training into your hearing members' inductions, so that when they join your company, they already are deaf aware and can communicate with colleagues. And that's it. So I'll stop sharing and come back to all your lovely faces. I don't know whether you want to do any questions now, Paul, or you want to go on to the next speaker. I'll leave it in your capable hands.